How are we doing, everybody? I am Jeff Hoke here with Shorthanded Takes, a Boston Bruins podcast here with Kevin Perdios. Chris Henrique is on his way home from work. He will be joining us soon. And we have a special guest today. It's Caylee Allard. Caylee, how are we doing?
I'm great. How are you guys tonight?
We're doing great. Do you want to explain to us what your part is? And I know you're going to be starting a new job here soon, but you have a podcast, and we're going to let you rant about your podcast here and let you get a little bit of a space here for your podcast.
Yeah, definitely appreciate it. So, I started my own NHL podcast with my brother and a friend, and it's called Brewings and Things. And the reason for that is there's two Bruins fans, which is me and my brother, and we have a Red Wings fan, and his name is Alex, and he's one of our co hosts. So, we kind of just put a play on words with the Brewings type of thing. But it is covering all NHL, and we're fairly new, but we've had some really cool guests so far. We've had Mike Comito, who's an NHL author. We've had AJ Galante, the former GM of the Danbury Trashers, and we also just got to interview Tim Peel, former NHL ref. So we've had some really cool people on. If you guys want to check it out, we've had some interesting interviews worth listening to. So.
Is that right on Spotify?
It's on like everything:
Yeah.
Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, Prime, but the Twitter is BWAT podcast, so you can get all the links there.
Perfect. So first of all, we're sponsored by Shocked Energy. Ever feel unable to focus, tired, and low on energy? We understand that feeling. We understand it so well that Shorthanded Takes, a Boston Bruins podcast, brought to you by Couch Guys Sports and sponsored by our friends over at Shocked Energy. Visit shockedenergy.com and use promo code CGSN today for 10% off your order. We're going to dive right in, given the fact that Chris is on his way. Currently, right now, the Bruins are playing up 2-1 now, as Seattle just scored as I look over at my computer over here. Let's dive into this game a little bit. I know Caylee's been watching. Caylee has been tweeting with vigorously tweeting every second, which we'd love to see. Um,
You
what
hear
are you
about that?
what are you seeing in this game so far? That I saw you tweet out. Kind of reminds you of the Arizona Coyotes game. Kind of the lack of offense so far. It's 2-1 right now. Um, what's your take on this game so far, and why do you think they're playing down to such a low level?
I think they're just in a slump recently, and I'm not sure why. I mean, I guess it's maybe because they came out of the gate the beginning of the year and won, what was it, 8 out of 9. And after that, you're kind of going to get gassed, especially with Tuuka going down. Even though he wasn't playing up to par, it's definitely a big change with the goaltending, and I feel like they've been shuffling guys. And Olmark's been great, but I feel like he's been one of the best players recently. So it's like you either have like the goalie showing up or the offense isn't, or vice versa, or defense. Or But yeah, they just look flat tonight. I mean, 2-1 against a bottom three team. Same with Arizona. It was a 2-1 win. The last game that they played pretty well was against Colorado. That should have been a win. It was unfortunate. Olmark stood on his head. They blew a lead. It was bad. It was one of those like fluke games, and the Dallas loss the other night was 6-1. They only scored one goal, so I feel like the offense has cooled off a lot, but I'm not really worried. I just think once you're hot, 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 you're bound to go down a bit. So
Kevin, I'll go to you really quick. Have you watched some of this game today too? And obviously, this is the inaugural game of the Bruins and the Kraken. First time Kraken are in town. The first time they're playing. What's your take on how this team has been playing lately? And obviously, like I said, they played down. They've been playing down lately. They played down to the Coyotes and the Stars. Obviously, they got blown out by the Stars. Last couple of games, though. What is your take on how the Bruins have played?
Yeah, I think last episode I said they needed to go 5-0 these next 5 games. So we didn't do that. That's for sure.
We'll leave you out of Simbin on that one.
Yeah. I mean, tough take there. That's for sure. The Dallas game was ugly. Once Tyler Sagan scores, you kind of like, oh man, it's just it kind of rubs the salt in the wound a little bit. But it's been ugly, and I think Kaylee's right when she says once you're on a nice little 8 out of 9 games win streak, when you cool off. You can cool off in a big way, and it seems the offense has done that. I think I'm going to keep tooting this horn of we need to get tougher. We forget who it was back in Nine, and I think took a tough hit from behind. And if you want to call that they answered it was more of a wrestling match than an actual fight. But I just think hits like that, we have to get a little bit more character in here, and a little bit. You can't expect Bergeron. I think Bergeron initiated it before. I forget who even jumped in.
Lazar.
Bergeron initiated Lazar jumped in after, which is good. You don't want Bergeron fighting, but I think they'll figure it out. I think they'll come back out of it, but they need to get going here again soon, quick.
Now, Caylee, the big topic we talked about, like Kevin said the last couple of weeks, is the fact that this team doesn't have a lot of fight in them when someone gets hit from behind, like when Garnet Hathaway hit Bergeron from behind, or like Vaakanainen today. Why do you think this team, is so afraid to fight? Is it because they don't have that enforcer like they used to, or because that's what Foligno was supposed to come in for? Obviously, he's hurt right now, so you don't have him. But is there a reason why this team is not up to the match when it comes to fighting?
Yeah, it's just the era of the big bad Bruins is over, unfortunately. And I think Bruins fans are so jaded and so spoiled when it comes to that because no one ever messed with them. And if you did, you were going to get beat up. It doesn't matter who it was. So you didn't have guys taking as many runs like that. Like, even though it was forever ago, the whole Matt Cook and Mark Savard incident, the very next game the Bruins played the Penguins, Sean Thornton was waiting for Matt Cook to step out on the ice for his shift, and he knew it, and Cook knew he had to answer the bell, and that was that. But it's not just a Bruins thing, it's really just a league thing. The league's faster now, there's less enforcers, there's younger guys, there's smaller guys, so the game in general is shying away for it, but every team still needs to have that designated enforcer, and I fully believe that. I mean, look at Ryan Reeves on the Rangers. They brought him in, and I don't think Tom Wilson's gonna mess with Panarin anymore because Ryan Reeves is there. So, they have Foligno. He's definitely stepped up a couple times, but not as many times as I would like him to. I feel like he still shies away from it. And they also have, I feel like Trent Frederick is a better enforcer than Foligno. Frederick isn't afraid of anyone. He fought Wilson. If something happens, Frederick will probably be in the mix. So, but it was good to see Lazar and Forbort tonight go after some guys after the whole Yanni Gourde incident. So they kind of stepped up, and even though it wasn't really a fight, they did get angry. So it's good to see that they do have some passion left in them.
Well, I got a question to follow up. Last episode, we kind of went over like what we should do at the deadline and all that, and I went on record to say we should bring back some old friends in Zdeno Chara and Milan Lucic. And I think if you bring in Lucic, it kind of brings back, just be like, hey, all we need you to do is that third, fourth line guy where someone decides to take a run at Marchand, Bergeron, Pasta, whoever it is. We're going to look your way rather than looking at Frederick. It's another guy in the room that Tom Wilson might have to answer to. And Milan Lucic is still a big dude, So what do you think a Lucic trade is something, what would it cost? Could they do it? And would you want to see them do it?
Yeah, so Lucic was always my favorite Bruin. I'm very biased when it comes to that. I met him; he's an incredible guy. So love Lucic, but I truly don't think that's what they need. I don't know if it would be a smart trade because I feel like they already have good bottom six guys, whereas they're not big fighters like Lucic. But you also don't want to really trade away the offense that the bottom six have been generating. They do seem to have good chemistry so far this year. That can definitely change, but I feel like more than a fighter, they need a big defenseman like Chara, a big tough guy. So not necessarily a fighter, but definitely a tough defenseman. I know everyone said, oh, we need a guy on the left side, but I feel like they need a right shot defenseman now. I feel like things have shifted a little bit. Unfortunately, Vaakanainen went down, so who knows what's going on with him. Zaboral's out for the season with an injury. He was very young, promising guy, so that sucked. But Clifton, I don't feel is very reliable. not very reliable either. Even Brandon Carlo has been making some pretty big mistakes in the past few games where you're just like, where's the defense? So I feel like just a big, tough guy that can defend is very necessary. And at first, like secondary scoring was the main issue for this team not too long ago, but I feel like they figured that out despite the slump the past few games. So for me, I love to see Sweeney go for a big defenseman, whether that means maybe even shipping off Jake DeBrusk in a package because I know he wants to leave anyway. So it'll be a win-win for everyone. So nobody is scared of the Bruins right now, and that think about like the Lightning. Like they won those championships with their defense and their big guys and they're just rough and tough. And you have to have the scorers, but you have to have the tough guys and the guys that block shots and it has to be the whole package. So if that the Bruins can get that one defenseman that makes a difference, I truly think they could go far this year.
That was actually my next question is if you thought that, do you think they should trade Jake DeBrusk at this point? I mean, obviously he wants to leave. Well, we don't know if he wants to leave now, but it's been out there that he would like a trade and he's been playing well as of late. But would you, if the trade is right, let's say for like in Arizona for, I can't remember his name now. I always say his name wrong. Chikrin.
Jacob Chitrin?
Yeah, him. Chitrin. Yeah, him. Close enough. For someone like him, would you make a trade like that, or would you rather keep a Jake DeBrusk as for depth reasons?
I mean, I like the guy and he's definitely been doing well lately, but if he wants out and you can get something like that in return, I guess it just depends on who would be packaged with him. I know that would be a big ask for Chitrin. I know they want a lot in return. So, but even for that, I feel like you can package like DeBrusk, maybe even Studnicka, and like a couple first round picks to get a Chitrin. I mean, I don't know if that would be enough for Arizona or exactly the specifics of what they're asking for, but I would like to trade him depending on the return because as of right now, I think he's still fitting in the lineup well. I think he's found his confidence a little bit, but also if you have a guy that wants to leave, he's never going to be 100% mentally there or feel 100% confident. And I also want to see him succeed. Like he could be a top 6 guy on another team. So, I wish him the best and I want what's best for him. But if they could get an even better return, then I say go for it. But if the return is kind of meh, then I don't think it's even worth it.
So my next question, I'm going to go on record, and I know you're a big Tuuka Rask fan. So I'm one of the biggest critics of him. And here's why. When you're an elite goalie, you need to play up to it, right? So I hold you to that standard of, dude, you're a top 5 goalie in this league. So when you suck, you're going to hear it, because you're not playing up to your caliber or how you should be playing. Granted, it's probably not entirely fair, but I saw one of your tweets a while back that you said, damn, Rask is playing the way all his critics think he plays. And you're exactly right. Like we were like, but even then, like something's not right with this guy. Something's off. So kind of a double-edged question here. If Rask stays out and is hurt and, what do you think the Bruins should do? And then if Rask comes back and is fully healthy and plays to the caliber of goalie that he is, obviously coming off of hip surgery, being a top 5 goalie again is a big ask. But even if he's a top 10, solid goaltender, better than what we have, which way do you think you go then? So I know it's a lot, but if Rask is out, where do we go? And if he's in, where do we go?
Yeah, so if he's out, I think Allmark has to be your number one guy, just because of his contract, and he does have more NHL experience than Swayman does. And I love Swayman. I think at times he's way better than Allmark. He's the future. He's number one. Like I think people don't realize just because I love Tuuka doesn't mean I don't think the other goalies are good. I'm a goalie girl. I love goalies. I think Allmark's been fantastic, and Swayman is just incredible. I love their hugs, but I think Swayman will be able to handle it eventually, but you can't put Swayman in the playoffs. I'm sorry. He's cannot be your starting goaltender for the playoffs. He has no experience. And I'm not saying that he couldn't, muster up the courage to do it, but the playoffs are an entirely different ball game, and I know you guys know that. That's why Tuuka is able to bail them out a lot in the playoffs, because he has so much experience and the game is elevated 10 times. So in my opinion, if say Tuuka comes back and he's 100%, he needs to be the starter. If he gets better, I know he's injured. It's been nagging him lately. That's definitely why he was playing off. At least I hope so. He's rusty. He had no experience in Providence, so this was kind of inevitable. I was just hoping we would go forward or not backward, because he's injured now, so he's missing more time. But I'm hoping maybe with the All-Star break, this is kind of like a good time for this to happen. So, yeah, to answer your question, if he's 100%, he has to be the guy. You brought him back for a reason. This will probably be his last season, just seeing the way his performance and his injury is going. But again, I can't see Allmark starting every game in a playoff and actually getting this team to a Stanley Cup. Like, that would be an absolute miracle to me. I hope it happens, but I just realistically, I cannot see it, and I don't think Swayman would be prepared for it.
Once again, this is Shorthanded Takes, a Boston Bruins podcast. I am Jeff Hoke here with Kevin Perdios, now here with Chris Henrique on the road on his way home, and obviously Caylee Allard here with us. Brought to you by Shocked Energy. Go to shockedenergy.com and use promo code CGSN today for 10% off your order. So, Caylee, I just want to dive in really quick. Allmark, first of all, Bruins just took the lead 3-2 finally. After tying, they let him tie it up. Taylor Hall once
again.
Was it pasta too? Ooh.
Oh, it says pasta on my app. It could be wrong.
Whatever works. I don't care. As long as someone scores.
I don't care who it was.
I'm not gonna care. So Allmark has started 4 straight games. I find that very weird for an NHL goalie. 4 straight games is a lot of work for somebody. Now, given there is the All-Star break coming up here, so it made a little bit of sense. I'm from Maine, so I'm a little biased when it comes to Jeremy Swayman. I've seen him play in college. I've seen it all. Why would you brought him up, and they said that he would probably start against Dallas on that Sunday game. Obviously he did not. He did, technically speaking, but it was when it was already over with. Why would you not give Allmark rest in between maybe one of those games that you said you would, instead of letting him play 4 straight games? I just feel like 4 straight games is a lot for an NHL goalie nowadays.
Oh, I agree with you. I have no clue why Allmark is still playing. I don't know. To me, it's almost like it seems like maybe Swayman, nothing serious, but maybe he tweaked something and maybe wasn't feeling 100% and felt like he couldn't go in. But I mean, I don't know if Bruce didn't disclose that or something, but who knows when Tuukka's going to be back. You need to be swapping time between Swayman and Allmark. So, because Allmark got sent down, Swayman got sent back down, so he needs to get back in the groove as well. But to me, it's not concerning, because I feel like whenever Swayman is in net, I don't know what it is, but I feel so confident. I don't know about you guys, but I'm never like, oh my God, like Swayman, the rookie's in net. Like, I'm nervous. Like, he's so confident. He has so much swagger, and he always looks so calm. So, like, to me, I feel like it's not going to be an issue with this little break that he's having, but I have no clue why Allmark is starting in 4 straight games. I mean, he hasn't been awful besides Dallas, but that was just a terrible game for everyone all around. But I have no clue what Bruce is thinking. I was really hoping to see Swayman start tonight, especially because it's Seattle. This should be a no-brainer win, and Swayman should get the blood flowing tonight.
You probably feel comfortable because he makes like 60 to 70 saves a game when he was at Maine, and it's just the kid is insane, and he's really good. I'm excited for when he actually comes up and plays full time. Chris, I'm going to go to you really quick, get you into this conversation a little bit. Let's go to Sunday's game against Dallas. Obviously, the last couple of games, the defense hasn't been great, and they kind of left Allmark out to dry those last 2 games. Why is it with the shift in this defense? 1 minute they're really good, 1 minute they're really bad. Why do you think this keeps happening? Right now they're not doing as bad, but that Sunday game was just horrible all around, like Caylee said.
I think first off, hi Caylee, how are you?
Hey, good. How are you?
I'm good. I apologize for being late. I had to work tonight.
That's okay.
All right. Sorry about that. All right. No, I think it's really been a byproduct we've talked about. I just think that the defense, if you take away McAvoy, the rest of the roster, the guys that are on the roster are just, I don't really feel like they're not that good. I mean, like they're good enough to do what they're doing right now. I think we've stated that they need an upgrade on defense, and it's too inconsistent. And it's been par for the course really since last year too. So I just think the consistency from the defensive side is just not there. And until Sweeney goes and provides an upgrade to that unit, I just think we're going to see more of this inconsistencies. And again, health might be a part of it too with some of these guys, and I'm not going to discount that piece. But I really think if this team can get themselves a legitimate number 2 defenseman, that second pairing, I think it's going to make a major change to what we're seeing, and hopefully the goaltending from that standpoint will improve.
I said the same thing. Glad you agree about defense.
So, and really quick, I want to piggyback on the goalie conversation since I kind of got on the end of it. I was thinking about this earlier, and I'm just kind of throw it out there to you guys. Do you think that maybe they're playing Ullmark more because he's now officially going to be the number 1, and they're kind of setting up for the fact that maybe Rask, could he be hurt, to an extent that maybe they're not divulging, and that, he's going to have to be the number 1 guy to carry the load, and they're going to have to, kind of throw Swayman in here, here or there, that now, hey, Ullmark, you need to be the number 1 guy.
Very possible. Yeah. I mean, Tuukka's surgery was serious. A torn hip labrum is no joke. It's very painful. I've never had one, but I've heard it when I was reading about it. It seems awful. Obviously it's major surgery on top of having time off. I'm sure it's very easy to tweak something. So I totally agree that that could be the thing. And people, especially the Tuukka critics, are like, he's probably retiring. So they're probably really excited about that. But, mark my words, when he goes, no matter what you think of him, it's going to be rough. There's going to be growing pains. You're not going to make the second round of the playoffs every year, might not even make the first round, or would be a first round exit. I just mark my words. I know Tuukka hasn't gotten a cup, but he is the reason the Bruins stay in game. You can rewatch the games, it's the reason. But 100%, I think there could be something really bad going on with Tuukka. So we'll see.
Yeah, to hop on that question, Chris, I think, even if Allmark is taking over the number 1, I kind of feel like, Seattle's a perfect game to get Swayman back in there and just, let Allmark get that even extra rest, because once this All-Star break ends, it's a tough schedule ahead. There's a lot of games in a short amount of time, especially if they're making up games from the COVID outbreak that happened.
Yeah, it's an ugly
There's
schedule.
a lot of games to be played. So I think, I think really there's no excuse for why Swayman's not in that right now, but that's neither here nor there. I guess my next question would be, if the season would, or if the playoffs were to end right now, this is the last regular season game, how far do you think the team constructed the way it is can go in the playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, as of right now, like before the deadline or anything, I'd say first round exit.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you got the Panthers, the Leafs. I hate to say it, the Leafs are looking really good. It's been hard for the Bruins to even catch up with them, which is a little disappointing to see. The Lightning are not as good as they were, but they can still keep up with the best teams in the league, especially, like I said, because of their size. And they have Corey Perry now, who's a huge, he's a pest like Marchand, but he's also a great player. So the division kind of terrifies me. But my only hope is the Panthers cooling down. They got to cool down at some point. They have been just a wagon nonstop since the season. Like, when is it going to end? Like, they're an incredible team and good for them. Like, I've always low key rooted for them because they're super underrated and they're trying to bump that South Florida hockey market. So good for them. But for the Bruins' sake, if the Panthers cool down, the Leafs choke like usual, then their only threat will be
choke.
yeah, their only threat will really be the Lightning. But the Lightning still would scare me based off this exact Bruins team we're watching right now. So definitely going to make the playoffs, but I can see a first round exit with this exact roster, how it is.
And we went over
Yeah,
this.
I agree.
We went over this last week. Right now, they still face the Panthers in that first round. So,
Yeah.
and Panthers are currently losing to the Rangers, but they're coming off a 7-1 win yesterday against the Blue Jackets. So, not much you can do there.
They won 8. They scored 8 yesterday.
They scored 8 yesterday. I'm sorry. Ooh, my God. There was that. I talked about. There was that one game. There was that one back-to-back stretch where they scored 18 total, and I was just so impressive. I don't know how they do it. I want to go back in time a little bit. To 2019. Tuuka Rask. I know you're a big Tuuka Rask fan, and I want to get your take on the 2019 Stanley Cup run with this team. And obviously, we all saw what happened in that Game 7. And you know how the Tuuka haters are. You know how they all blame Tuuka for that Game 7 loss. I want you to defend him right now, right here, and what happened. And we all know Jordan Binnington is just a pest now, as it is anyway. But what happened to that Bruins team in that Game 7 of the Stanley Cup, and why is everyone blaming Tuuka?
Because they need someone to blame, and they don't see this. I hate to say this because it sounds very condescending, but people who always blame the goalie, not just Tuca, do not have a very large hockey IQ. And I'm not saying I know everything about hockey, but any knowledgeable hockey fan knows the aspects of the game. They know what the defenseman should be doing. They can recognize a defensive mistake. They can recognize a turnover, regardless of who made the turnover. Or they can recognize that Tuca was being screened and couldn't see the puck. Like that happens. And in Game 7, 2019, that hurt me more than the 2013 Blackhawks 17 seconds, because that was like the Blackhawks dynasty era, and they were such a great team. Like, it wasn't really that much of a shock, although the 17 seconds thing was brutal, and Tuukka was blamed for that as well. Even though if you go back and watch those 2 goals, the defensemen were nowhere to be found, and I think Chara was one of the ones that was like almost in Tuukka's way, and Tuukka couldn't see, and the puck like squeaked through. Like, it was just a shit show in 2013, and I blame the entire team for that. That was embarrassing to lose that way. But in 2019, they lost 4-1 in Game 7. The only Bruin to score a goal was Matt Grzelcyk with like a minute left in the third period. Regardless if Tuukka let in a couple bad goals here or there, which I thought that the game could have been like 6-0, if not for him. He did his best. But where was the offense? Where was Bergeron? Where was Marchand? Where were those assurance goals? If your goalie can only do so much, it's not just Tuukka out there shooting, scoring, playing defense. He is your backup for when the team in front of him doesn't do their job, and he has to bail them out constantly. And I even feel like when he's in net, the defense doesn't play up to par, because I swear they feel more secure with him, and they're just kind of lackadaisical because they trust him so much, which they should. And I feel like that's what happened in Game 7, because it's just embarrassing to see, Binnington got to win that cup, and he is nothing even close to Tuuka Rask. But yeah, where's your offense? Where's the defense? Where's the offense? Like, I'm not saying Tuukka's perfect. These past few games, I've been like, what is he doing? Like, he looks so off. I knew something had to be wrong with him. So I'm not saying Tuukka never makes a mistake, but he is a big reason why the Bruins are successful. And you got it. Like, people that judge him so much, especially for that final, they need to go back and actually watch those highlights and watch the defense and remember the offense was only able to score 1 goal in a Game 7 Stanley Cup final game on home ice, and that is sad.
Chris, I'll go to you really quick. I want your take on this. You know my hate for Jordan Binnington after that 2019 series, and he's just a piece of shit now as it is. He got worse by the year. He got cocky, but he wasn't that good in that series. What happened to that offense? Well, why? I remember watching that game, and they just came out so flat in that game. Nothing was there for them. What do you think happened there?
I don't know. I think you could kind of take a look at that team, and obviously it's let's try this again. It's a few years removed to the team they have now, but I feel like the Bruins rely so heavily on that first line to score and generate offense. It just, I feel like too that whole postseason and that playoff run to get to the cup, it was like just the stars aligned for them to just be able to go ahead and bring another cup to Boston too. But I just think that we rely so much on that first line to produce offense for this team, and sometimes like these guys can't do it every single night, and you just got to balance out that roster. I just don't think that they in my opinion, I just think that's kind of where it lies, is just too much hope, too much pressure on that first line.
Now I'm going to go to Kevin and Caylee on this one. I'm going to start with Caylee. You're also a big David Krejci person. I know you're big with, I've seen your posts about, when he left, everyone was disappointed, obviously. And, we all wanted to see that Taylor Hall Krejci for a full year. And all of us here wanted to see it. What do you think do you think he's a big piece of as to why this offense isn't scoring as well as they should be right now?
I mean, I love Krejci to death, and I wish he stayed more than anything. But I feel like the offense has been fine. I mean, a second line of Hall, Krejci, and Smith would have been incredible again because they had so much chemistry and played really well together. But the top six has been great. I mean, Taylor Hall scored tonight. When they bumped Pasta down to the second line, he started finding his groove. Pasta's been on a tear lately, which is so good to see because he was really snake bitten during the beginning of the season. And I feel like that can relate back to the tragedy he went through this summer with losing his child, unfortunately. So I feel like it was more of a mental thing, but seeing Pasta with Hall and Holla and having Smith on the first line, I feel like it's worked out perfectly. I feel like, everyone's big concern was, who's going to be second line center? And I know people were thinking it was either going to be Studnicka or Coyle. And it's funny to see that obviously did not work out. But I feel like they've done a lot better. And Bruce was just smart to shift those lines, and you got to balance out the lines. Just like Chris just said, it's so top heavy, and the perfection line, even though we know that's not really their name, the perfection line can't do everything. And if you have that offense coming from just three guys and they're all played together, you're really only going to get goals when they're out there. So I really want to see Pasta remain on the second line, and I think they've done way better than I thought they would without Krejci, because I was thinking like, we need to get a second line center. Let's get Hurdle from the Sharks. Let's trade Studnicka and DeBrusk and a first rounder and get Hurdle, and he'll be second line center. But I feel like that's not really necessary anymore. So I mean, Krejci would help, yes. I'm not saying they don't need him, but I feel like they've done surprisingly well without him.
What say you, Kevin? We've obviously talked about this in the past, and what Krejci being in the Shack now again, just absolutely dominating everyone because he's just better than everyone over there. It's really fun to watch. But what is your take on Krejci not being part of the team? Has it helped more, or do you think that it would have been better if he was on the team?
I mean, whenever you remove a guy like Krejci, you're always it's obviously your team's getting worse, right? Like, you're removing a guy of his talent that, you're not going to get better with the loss of Krejci. You're going to suffer at some point. But I think his comments towards Cassidy were kind of on par of like, they never gave me Pastrnak. I think for whatever reason, Cassidy felt he couldn't separate that perfection line. And the way you look at playoff hockey is your best lines are going to cancel each other out, right? Like you have to think a playoff hockey team, 1 versus 1, they're going to cancel each other out. And it comes down to how deep are you? How good's your goaltending? How deep are you? And back to that 2019 run, this is probably my biggest thing with Cassidy. I love Cassidy as a coach. I love the way he goes about his business. I think he's a perfect coach for this team. But I think the 2019 run and that loss, not on Tuuka at all. You knew this dude was hurt. you're the coach. You're in game 7. You know he's hurt. You have to do what's best for your team. I get Bergeron and Marchand like, oh, we want Tuuka. But it's justified when you go, hey, he's hurt playing through a torn hip labrum. We got to go with a healthy goalie. He looked not himself. That really the later in that series, you could tell something was seriously bothering him. And knowing what we know now, it's justified his decision if he went the other way. So I don't put that on Tuuka at all. I think, like Caylee said, it's the defense feels that they can just take shifts off because Tuuka's in net because he is that good. But it's that's not on Tuuka. That I put that one on Cassidy, and that's kind of something like, all right, you have to show that you get back here. But I think he redeemed himself by now being like, all right, let's see if I separate this perfection line and see what happens. And it's worked out really well. And I think they found an answer for secondary scoring, and it's worked in a big way. So kind of long-winded answer short. In hindsight, I feel like it bettered the team because Cassidy was like, I have no choice but to separate that top line, where if Krejci was still here, he would obviously still be on that second line. History tells us he didn't want to give Krejci Pastrnak. So maybe he doesn't make that move. And in the long run, we're suffering. But, whenever you have a guy like Krejci, you're always going to be better. It's just, for whatever reason, the way he handled that lineup, he didn't want to give Krejci Pasta. Granted, he'll have Taylor Hall, which is, why do you need Pasta if you have Hall? But, I think in the long run, we're in a better spot now because they broke up that top line.
So as you guys were talking, the Bruins did win 3-2. The hug happened. The Linus and Swayman hug, we finally got it back, and it is all over Twitter right now if you guys want to see it. So it was a glorious hug, by the way. So Caylee, you are going over to Bleacher Report, obviously, to cover the NHL now. So before we close out the show with our hot takes, let's just look at the standings so far in the NHL. There's one team I want to talk to you about really quick, and it's not a good team. It's a very bad team. What happened to the Montreal Canadiens? That's the question. That's all it is. What happened? They were a Stanley Cup finalist last year, and now they're only won 8 games so far this year. What happened to this team?
How much time do you got? I mean,
you got all the time in the world.
well, honestly, no, it's going to be a short answer. I think they got lucky last year. I mean, not that they didn't play well, but I think they just got lucky with, making it so far. And Carey Price is a huge asset to that team, who they no longer have right now. We know that he's been taking a break due to some mental things that he needed to work out. Also, Caulfield was pretty big for them last year, and we obviously know that he is in the AHL right now because he had a poor start to the season. I think he scored 1 goal in however many games, like 8 games. I could be wrong. I can't remember. But yeah, I mean, they just don't have any depth. Yeah, I honestly don't know how they took such a deep dive. It's not just Carey Price, like that is a big loss, but yeah, I know they lost Shea Weber. He had a bad injury. He was also a key asset to the team. So that was a big loss for them as well. But I mean, they just don't have the depth, I feel like. I feel like just they need to make organizational changes, maybe get a new GM. I truly don't know. I don't understand how a team could take such a deep dive. I didn't think that they would be back in the final this year, but I definitely didn't think they would be last in the league. But as Bruins fans, we love to see that. We do not care, because beating them is always the best and seeing them suffer. But honestly, I'd rather see Toronto suffer more because they're more of a rivalry recently with the Bruins. So I kind of hope it happens to the Leafs too. But honestly, I do not know how to answer your question. I think they need to make some trades. I think they need to change up the scenery, maybe some organizational changes, like I said, and maybe they'll get Carey Price back and that'll help a little, but he's definitely not going to fix a last team in the league. So
we'll go over to the Western Western Conference really quick. The Anaheim Ducks have been kind of a, dark horse this season. They started off really well, went through a couple of rough patches, but the one guy on that team is obviously Trevor Zegras that we all know and love, doing the Michigan, doing the Zegras, whatever you want to say, doing Tortorella's worst nightmare, pretty much. That's his worst nightmare at this point, and it's hilarious to watch. What is your take on can this Anaheim Ducks team actually make it to a Stanley Cup?
I don't know about a final, but I think they're going to make it pretty far, and it comes down to the division, really. Their only true competitor right now is really Vegas. I mean, look at that division. You got, Seattle, Vancouver, San Jose, Edmonton, Calgary, and the Kings. And the Kings aren't bad, and Calgary's had some hot streaks here and there. But honestly, with the way they're trending, they're a young team. They've gone through a rebuild successfully, but they also have a veteran presence with like Getzlaf. John Gibson is a great goaltender, so they have all the pieces. And Zegras obviously is an incredible talent. He's fun to watch. Pulls off trick shots all the time like it's nothing. So he is definitely, very marketable and a superstar. And I think his presence gives the team a lot of confidence too. Because when you have a guy like that on the ice, a big personality, it makes it easier to win. And it's just, that locker room presence. And yeah, so I think they are going to go far, but their division is going to help them a lot because the rest of their division just isn't that good. I still think they're a little incomplete and maybe a little too young to go to a final, but I can definitely see them maybe second or even third round team this year.
What is my last question before we go to our final session? What is obviously the Canadian teams don't seem to be doing as well as they have in the past this year. One of the key ones is Edmonton Oilers. There's been a lot of a lot of fire with that team, when it comes to, Leon Draisaitl being pissy with the media. You got the goalie calling out other people. It was just all a crapshoot. They signed Evander Kane. I mean, once that happened, you knew it was all going to hell anyway. What is your take on the Edmonton Oilers, and can they actually make a comeback into, make a run at a playoff spot? Because right now they're on the outside looking in and they're sinking pretty fast.
Yeah, I think they have a similar problem to what the Bruins had with, they rely on McDavid and Draisaitl for all of their offense, which McDavid and Draisaitl always show up, but the rest of the team doesn't always do their job. I don't think they have good goaltending either. I know they have Mike Smith, and I can't remember the other goaltender they have, but their two big guys are Draisaitl and McDavid, and you can't rely on those two guys. So I think that's why they wanted Evander Kane so bad, because we know he's not a great person, but everyone advocates that he is a good player and a skilled player. That shouldn't matter if you've done terrible things off the ice, but apparently the Oilers do not care. So I feel like, from a player standpoint, yes, it was a good move to add Evander Kane. I think they scored like 7 goals his first game. I mean, it was against the Canadiens, I think. So yeah, that really doesn't count. Obviously, that's going to happen. But Kane scored his first goal. They're kind of evening out those lines and generating more offense now. So I think their issue also was offensive issue and also goaltending issue, because you're relying on those two big pieces with McDavid and Draisaitl, and you can't rely on two guys for an entire team. So I feel like if they just spread it out a little bit and even it out, that they'll be a much better contender.
With that being said, we're going to go to our last segment. Before I do that, though, head over to shockedenergy.com and use promo code CGSN today. They are one of our sponsors. Also, Exogun Massage Guns and Massage Therapy is also our sponsor. Don't want to forget to add that in. Now, Caylee, we call this penalty shots. It's basically a hot take. And with the Bruins and the rest of the NHL being on break for the rest of the week, starting tomorrow, I think, or whatever, we're gonna dig into some All-Star predictions this week. So we'll start with you. What is your prediction for the upcoming week? It could be anything All-Star related. Zegras is obviously in the trick shot competition and all that stuff. Who's gonna win what? Is Marchand going to actually get into the All-Star game? What is your hot take here for the upcoming week?
Ooh, a hot take for the All-Star game. I think, let's see. I think so. Zegras is doing the trick shot.
Yes.
I think he's gonna fail at the trick shots and everyone will be shocked. I think because I think like he does it without even trying. And I think like when he actually tries, it might not be as exciting as people think it's gonna be. Like, I don't think it's gonna be that cool. He might not actually like accomplish any of the trick shots or like the skill things that he's gonna do. So that's my hot take. He's gonna disappoint for once and not be flashy.
Kevin, what is your hot take here going into All-Star break?
All right. I don't know if you saw this, but like Spin Chicklets released that they're introducing 2 new, I guess, skills competitions. I don't know, like one of them's 21. It's like a target practice. You have to hit the cards to match up to 21. And then the other one is, they call it the Fountain Face-Off. It'll take place in the fountain outside Vegas. They'll shoot pucks into 5 different targets. I think that's going to be a complete disaster. I think everyone's going to be like, what are we watching right now? What is going on here? And then I did have a question. Remember, I want to say last year, 2 years ago, they had the, I'm blanking on her name now. She did the speed skating and like beat all the guys. Why am I blanking on?
Yeah, I know who exactly.
Are they doing that again?
Yeah, they do have someone coming in they have a couple girls coming in this year again.
It's gonna happen again.
Yes.
The girls are gonna beat the guys again. I'm calling it. I
love it.
So background story, like I have 2 sisters that played Division I hockey, and I still will go. I'll die on the cross on this one. I'll die on this hill. That you can take the Hillary Knights of the world, and put them on a third line in the NHL, especially the way the game is going, and they will be a solid third line player. And Hillary Knight, you can make a case that on some teams in the NHL, she'll be second line, if not top 6, top line. They're that good. And I think I like that the NHL keeps bringing the girls back. And I think the girls that do show up this All-Star break, they're going to beat the guys at whatever competition they're in.
Okay. Chris, what is your hot take for the upcoming All-Star break?
So I have a hot take and then I have just a quick comment. So what I'm excited about for the All-Star game itself is that there are 19 first-time All-Stars, which is exciting for the sport because it's a lot of really young players. And if you go through the list, I wrote down, like I'm excited to see like Jack Hughes, really young player. Jack Campbell, really young player. Just 2 names that I wrote down. There's 17 other first timers that's part of that group. I think it's really good for hockey, and it's going to be a good opportunity for the casual fan who's probably just going to tune in to kind of see what everything's all about. To really, to start to, maybe put a face to some of these players who are out there. So I think that's really exciting for hockey, seeing those young players. I really want to see McDavid steal the show, though. I think that he's the game's, in my opinion, the game's greatest player. I think it's time to steal the show and just continue to elevate, his presence on the ice. So I really want to see McDavid in the All-Star game from that standpoint, really just kind of take over and establish himself as what everybody thinks and knows that he is. So I guess not a hot take, but more of just what I want to see, so to speak. But I'm actually really more excited about the fact, like I said, there's 19 first-time All-Stars that are going to get to play and get to kind of showcase their teams in the league. And I just think it's something that's exciting, considering, every once in a while we'll reference baseball, and on this podcast, and there's going to be no baseball. And there's going to be, as of right now, no way to kind of grow that sport. Here's hockey with, again, 19 first-time All-Stars. I think it's a beautiful thing for the sport. So that's what I'm really the most excited about and looking forward to for next week.
And it's okay to not have a hot take because, we might need a break from that after, Kevin said they should go 5-0 last week, and they didn't even go close to 5-0 last week. Before we go, we did talk, we said we talked about baseball every now and then. We need to throw in a little bit of football today. I know Caylee's a Giants fan, so she's happy about this. I know she's happy about this. the retirement of Tom Brady went down today. I just want to get each of yours comments on what he meant to the game or what you thought of him before we leave. I have a story. I'm not going to say anything. I have a story up on Couch Guys Sports that you guys can read. It has all my thoughts right in it. I'm going to start with Chris. Your thoughts on the Tom Brady retirement?
So one, it makes me feel old. But no, honestly, it's kind of weird because like I'm one of those sports fans. It's hard to say like, do I actually have a true like favorite player in really like any sport? You know what I mean? Like I'm a fan of the Sox, I'm a fan of the Patriots, Bruins, and C's. But like I can honestly tell you that Tom Brady was one of my favorite players growing up, and I just think that we had an opportunity to see something that people are never going to see. There are organizations that aren't going to sniff 6 Super Bowl appearances, let alone seeing Brady help deliver 6 here. And I just think that we need to take a step back and just appreciate that. Stop pissing and moaning that he didn't say goodbye in an Instagram post or on Twitter or, making it about you. It's not about you. He helped deliver 6 Super Bowl titles, something that is probably not going to be seen again from one individual player. And, I'm thankful for that. I'm grateful I got to see that. It sucks that football is not going to feature Tom Brady moving forward. I'm curious to see what he's going to do post football and how he might be able to continue to be part of the sport and what he's going to do from there. But it's a loss for football, but at least for us though, I mean, we got to see something that people are not going to see. And we're going to grow old and we're going to talk about what we got to see with Tom Brady. And there's going to be people that aren't going to understand that. And I just think we got to see something really special, and I'm thankful for that. So forever my quarterback. I always say that, Tom Brady. So I might do something now with my Bucks jersey that I have that I never wore. It's hanging up in the closet. Actually, I have a Brady Gronk Nike misprint that I'm actually thinking about maybe doing something with now that, once Gronk decides when he's done with his USAA commercials, he announces retirement. So it's got Brady on the front, like the 12, and it's got the 87 on the sleeve. So I don't know, I'm a little bummed, but I just par for the course. It's part of the sport. But there's so many memories in each one of us, and even you're a Giants fan and you have your memories. I thought the tweet today by NBC New York was kind of sweet, where it was fitting with what they put out there. So I don't know. It sucks, but I'm happy for him. And now we move on.
You're definitely right. I have a Brady jersey that is a Bucks and a Brady jersey that is a Patriots. I plan on putting it in a double shadow box and hanging it on my wall behind me. As you can see, I have a whole bunch of other memorabilia on my wall behind me, so it will be joining that.
I'm thinking about doing the same thing. So I'm not one that is really big into getting player jerseys.
Yeah.
I think it just growing up, we've just seen so many players that have come and gone so quickly. Obviously Brady's not that case, but I just never was one to be like, hey, I'm going to go grab a jersey. Like I got jerseys, like I got some Bruins ones, like Winter Classic that I got cheap from work that got clearanced out and stuff like that, or set aside so they get clearance out, so to speak. But, I'm actually thinking about, because I have the Brady with the last Super Bowl patch where they were with New England. So thinking about maybe putting like that one together if I don't end up selling that misprint one, and then the Bucks one, and just doing something kind of cool with it and getting some other little things with it. But
Kevin, I'm going to go to you next. I'm going to start with the Patriots fans, and I really want to hear Caylee's response to end this show. So what is your take as a Patriots fan growing up in New England, what Tom Brady meant to you, and how much it obviously bums you out, but how much it means to you that he's gone now?
Yeah, I'm probably the poster child of just being absolutely spoiled by Boston sports, because their first Super Bowl win, I think I was like, I don't know, second grade, whatever. So all I've known from my childhood is the 4 Boston sports teams being dominant. Red Sox, Bruins, Patriots, like that's second nature to me. That, all right, there's three things in life, whatever. One of them is going to be the Patriots going to the Super Bowl because it's going to happen. You can put money on it. And to really just sum it up, I mean, I don't want to go on a long-winded answers again, but we got to watch the Wayne Gretzky's of the NFL, right? Like, we get to now, when we grow up playing hockey, you look at, wow, like it would be so cool to watch Wayne Gretzky play or Bobby Orr play or any of these greats. We got to do that for NFL, right? Like, we got to see Tom Brady, the greatest quarterback of all time, playing every Sunday for 20 years, in New England. So I think, it's sad. It's sad to see him not there. I'm spoiled. I'm grateful. I'm happy for him. But at the same time, I'm going to take a little bit of that approach of, yeah, you know what? It is me. This is about me because we followed you to Tampa, right? That fan base that you thanked, majority was made up of Patriots fans that followed you down to Tampa. Tom doesn't go to Tampa. You and Chris don't buy a Tampa Bay jersey, right? Like that's, you don't buy that. The five fans that are down in Tampa are actually watching that team before Brady was there. They weren't football fans. Like, the fan base that you thanked was majority made up of New England fans that appreciated you as what you've given us in New England. And we followed you there to support your career because partly I still think they completely screwed up on letting him walk away. Like that is, and he has every right to be pissed at the organization, but I almost did want to see, hey, thank you fans. Like, thank you guys. I don't give a shit if you don't say thank you to the Krafts and Belichick's because frankly, like they don't deserve it on how they handled that situation. So I'm not even salty at that. I'm just salty that, damn, like we followed you to Tampa. Like we stuck with you. We were pulling for you in the Super Bowl. Granted, once you won it, now it's kind of like, all right, yeah, let's someone else go now. As long as it's not Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen, where I got your back here. So a little hurt, but at the same time, you got to put your feelings aside and just realize that we got to witness the greatest of all time, and one that I'm pretty confident we're not going to see for another lifetime. And all the people that say Patrick Mahomes is going to be that guy, you can kindly fuck right off because he's not going to be that guy. And last weekend proved it, So, yeah, having Brady on your team we're spoiled. Like Caylee said with Tuuka, dark ages are ahead of us once that guy leaves the pipes. So we're in some dark times, but Mac Jones, take us to the promised land again, please.
Speaking of Jones, we go down to Caylee now, who is a fan of the New York Giants, the only team to beat Tom Brady twice in the Super Bowl. We'll just let me give her moment, please. Just no mean. Let's not be mean here. Let's not be mean. Obviously, we all are at this point. So what is your opinion on Tom Brady's retirement? And obviously, I know you respect him, but as a Giants fan, it does feel good, I'm sure, to see him go and to win two Super Bowls against him in your trophy case.
Yeah, I mean, so I don't really understand when Giants fans say like they hate Brady, because they beat him twice. He was never an issue for the Giants. And Patriots fans also make fun of me. They're like, you bring that up all the time. Like, it must be sad to have to like ride off those Super Bowls. I'm like, wouldn't anyone? Like, because it's Tom, like, it's a compliment. Like, my quarterback and my team beat the GOAT not once, but twice and ruined a perfect season. Like, that is lifetime bragging rights, in my opinion. And so for me, like, thank you, Brady. Like, literally, like, not even trying to be funny, but like, I like with the way my team is trending and that Brian Flores news that came out today, like the Giants are in shambles. I haven't known football happiness in like a decade. and and that's why like when Patriots fans complain about it, I'm like, you have 6 freaking rings. You would have had 8 with Brady. I'm so sorry you couldn't have 8. You have 6. Like, and I also have like Jets fan friends, and they get so mad when Patriots fans complain or like that Brady left. They're like, if they spend 1 year as a Jets fan, they would not be able to handle it. So it's just, yes, Boston sports fans are very spoiled. I wish I could have just been born an all Boston sports fan. My life would be so much easier because I have the Yankees too. I know. But yeah, but obviously I respect Brady. I don't hate him. I think he's incredible. Like you said, we will never see this in our lifetime. I will be very surprised if we do. We're going to tell our kids about him. Like, our kids are going to be like, no way, like, you watched him play. Like, I'm sure you guys may have even gone to NFL games and seen him play in person, which is just like, it's a spectacle, you know? Like, this guy's a machine. Like, he left the Patriots because everyone thought it was the system, like with Belichick and everyone. So, which obviously it was a great system, but he left the Patriots system and still won a Super Bowl. Like, only he could do that. It's such a storybook, like, fairy tale for him. And I'm not even like happy to see him go because the Giants and Patriots aren't really rivals. I'm sure like Jets fans are happy, Bills fans are happy, Dolphins fans are happy. Because he was, not that he's on the Patriots anymore, but he was their rival for so long and they built up so much hatred towards him. But Giants fans, I feel like, never really hated Brady. They just hated like the fans, because like Boston and New York fans never get along. But yeah, so I mean, I think he's he's the GOAT, he's a god, he's amazing. I thank him for the 2 championships I've gotten to see. Won't see for a very long time for me, definitely. So yeah, I think he's the best, and I'm not even happy to see him go. I'm just happy that he's doing whatever makes him happy, and I'm sure the Patriots will have like an incredible ceremony for him at some point, and he's definitely a Hall of Famer. So he's incredible, and you can't hate on that. So,
and maybe the Bruins can finally get him to be a banner captain when they make the first round of the playoffs, because they've been trying to do that forever and it just has not happened yet. I know Evan Marinofsky mentioned it, so I needed to throw that out there as well. But Caylee, thank you for coming on today. We'd love to have you back sometime. It was great having you. Obviously, I'm Jeff Hoke. That's Kevin Perdillos and Chris Henrique down there. This has been Shorthanded Takes, episode 16, a Boston Bruins podcast brought to you by Shocked Energy and Exo Gun. Once again, we'll be back next week. Nothing going on. We got the All-Star break coming up this week, so a little bit of a break. Hopefully the Bruins can get back into the swing of things when they start up again next Tuesday against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Once again, I'm Jeff Hoke. That's Chris Henrique, Kevin Perdillos, and our special guest, Caylee Allard. And you guys have a great day.